Hi everybody, my name is Richard and I'm from Dark Frontier Games, and today we're going to be having a quick look at our new prototype for Escape from Mars. Escape from Mars is a 1 to 4 player, solo focused, with optional 1 to 4 player hidden traitor game that we're going to be releasing next year. We've just had some of these lovely prototypes made. I'll read the description on the back of the box here. Escape from Mars is a solo or cooperative game of strategy, deduction and survival. Face waves of hostile aliens, uncover hidden secrets and manage the dwindling resources of your base. Can you solve the mystery, contain the infection and escape Mars in time, or will you become just another victim of the planet's darkness? Very nice. You can see it's quite a sprawling game. We're going to have a look at all the components in the box and so you get an idea of what's going to be inside each box. Absolutely loving the artwork here by a fabulous artist we used online. I'm sure we're going to be using them again. I absolutely love it. Rulebook, lovely rulebook, lots of nice pictures, and then we've got the components. So we've got a whole host of tokens. There's quite a lot of tokens in this game. It's actually a pretty compact game. There's not a lot of... I don't really like creating games with loads of big wasted space. So, try and be green and everything. So you're trying to have as little as the fewest amount of components, but for the most value for the game. We've got like health tokens. We've got welding tokens. You can weld doors shut and things like that. We've got ammo, expansion tokens. We've got suits, space suits. So when you want to go to the surface, you have to put a spacesuit on. We've got turrets you can build. There's a robot. There's lots of different tokens there. And then there's the drone tokens. These are the aliens, the drone aliens, the basic aliens that you'll be facing in the game. And on the reverse side of them, they have DNA samples. And when you kill the aliens, you flip them over and you collect samples, and then you use the samples to help solve the puzzle. There's also another puzzle here, which is just a simpler puzzle, which is to do with finding which crew member went to which location. And then there's the alpha aliens here, which are the nasty aliens. So we've got a whole bunch of tokens. We've got the board. I absolutely love this board. I love it. It's very big because there's a lot going on in the game. As I say, this is just a prototype copy, so nothing's set in stone yet or completely finished yet. Just give it a little tweak to get it to all go down nicely. So here's the board, pretty expansive. We've got like a sample area where you put the puzzle that you're going to be trying to solve in. You pick one of the puzzle cards from the game and you put this here, and that's part of the game, is you have to solve this puzzle. Then you've got all the alien samples that you collect, that you keep in the research room. You've got crew logs, because you have to find out which crew members have been to which dig site. There's a selection of dig sites that people go to where they get infected. So in the game, you're trying to find out which crew members went to the dig sites, and then it allows you to find out which crew member is the infected crew member, and then you can escape from Mars and leave them behind, preferably in quarantine if you get time. Anyway, we have a little... this is one of the later additions to the game. Before, we had decks of cards that you would pick up and keep, and then again, to try and streamline the game, I just put it, rather than having more cards and more stuff, we just made this little wheel-based system, so you can track how many different actions you've got with which different departments, and how many directives you've got. And it's got a drone evolution tracker. There's a little system where if too many drone evolutions occur, basically when you get too many basic aliens, when you get too many drone aliens grouping in a certain area, they turn into a big alien. If that happens too many times, it's game over. So you need to keep the numbers of the aliens down, and then you've got an ammo counter as well there, and that gets tracked throughout the game. That just sits there, and then you just pick it up and use it when you need to add things to it. We have got a whole selection of dice and counters. So there's like 4 blue dice that you use for shooting and stuff like that. And then there's 2 dice here which actually go on the board here. You can see there's like a red and a green spot here, and that's for shell breach rolls. When you have to make a shell breach roll, you roll the dice, and the green dice tells you how many aliens you're going to spawn, and the red dice tells you which location you're going to spawn them at. So if I'd have rolled that, I would have to spawn 5 drone aliens in location 6, which is actually outside. So 6 aliens would appear there. There's things in the game that allow you to obviously adjust and manipulate this as well. And then you have a percentile dice. This is also used in conjunction with the hazard level. So when the game becomes more hazardous, when the base is more saturated with the alien virus, bad things can happen on a percentile roll. And there's a whole bunch of little tokens that are used to track the hazard level, the oxygen, the shell integrity, the number of rounds, and throughout the game different things happen on different rounds. We've also got the character crew passes. So the crew passes tell where they will start if they've got a distrust icon. So there's an advanced thing in the game which allows you to play with distrust cards. And distrust cards mean that certain crew members won't join you unless you meet certain criteria. So these actually, you just use them in the advanced game. As I say, there's quite a lot going on in this game, so you can play it slightly simpler to start with. So it tells you what department they are, engineering, there's operations, and there's science departments. There's a whole bunch of characters, and when they get killed, you can flip them over to the deceased side. We have got the sample cards. These samples actually you collect throughout the game, and then throughout the game you're going to be researching them in the research laboratory, and when you collect a sample it gives you some information that you can use with the puzzle to try and solve the puzzle. So you collect these samples to use to solve the puzzle later. The puzzle is quite involved, but it's one of the main features of the game. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. We've also got weapon cards. There's a whole host of weapons. So each character has his own personal weapon, but then there's some other weapons that you can collect throughout the game. We have got tools. There's a load of tools. These tool cards. Oh, there's loads more weapons there. There's a bunch of tool cards, and they do extra things, and you get these by searching in certain locations. So, for example, you could go to the supply room and search for these. There's other ways to get these as well in the game. There's like a bunch of tools there. And then you have the main deck of cards, which is this big deck of cards, which is the exposure deck. And this kind of like controls the game. So during the game, at the start of the game, you set this deck a certain way. You split it into 4 piles, and there's a certain card in here, which a spawn evolution card, and you set one of those at the end of each deck. And so at certain points throughout the game, specific events will happen. And this deck basically spawns aliens to the board. Emergencies happen. There's different types of cards. Each card has actually got 2 actions. So there's an action when characters are being exposed to the virus, and an action that happens throughout the game. So there's loads of different effects and stuff like that. Those live on the board. And they are also used in conjunction with this big track down here at the bottom. So each round, you're going to draw a number of exposure cards when you enter rooms with aliens. And this is how your crew members can potentially get infected. So at the start of the game, one of the characters is infected, and you're trying to find out which that character is. But throughout the game, more of your characters can become infected. And how that works is if you get too many exposure cards, then you're going to become infected. And with these exposure cards, when you enter into a room, they get revealed along this board here, along this tracker at the bottom, like so. And this is kind of like a pre-warning tracker, because in the following round, all the events that happen on these cards will happen in the next round. So effectively, as bad things happen, this is kind of pre-warning you what's coming up, what negative effects are going to be affecting. So you're constantly trying to make plans. You're thinking, what, oh my God, all these events are coming up next. How are we going to deal with those? And then obviously you're going to have more the next round and the next round and the next round and so on and so on. There's also a data sheet. This data sheet, it's got a cute little boo monster under, lives under here, lives under the board, like so. Lives under the board, something like that. And when somebody visits the analyzer, when somebody does the analyzer action in the laboratory, they get to study this sheet and they can see if their calculations for the puzzle are correct or not. And then it will give them an idea, give them some more information, and they can use that information to try and solve the puzzle. And then we have all the puzzle cards. There's a whole bunch of easy puzzle cards, and then there's just normal puzzle cards that don't have anything written on them. And what happens is, at the start of the game, say I wanted to play an easy game, you choose one of these cards without looking at the other side. You just put the card into this wallet. So that means that you can't accidentally look at what the answer is, because the answers are on the back of this sheet. And then when you get a sample clue, you'll flip this over and you'll put this on here. And then the puzzle works by, it will then tell you, you see this green slice here, that tells you that one of these clues, one of those symbols is correct for this clue. So for the answers on the back of this card. As I say, the puzzle is explained more in the game, but it's like a process of elimination. And what you can do with the alien tokens that you collect over here, what you do with these alien tokens is you can put these on the table and arrange them or use them to calculate the answer to the puzzle. It's really cool. It's a really cool feature. If you're playing like a 3-player game, one player might be controlling all the science team, and then you've got a really interesting game of each department is doing their own thing. Somebody's running around trying to kill the aliens, somebody's trying to fix the base, and one player's sitting here desperately trying to solve the puzzle. It's really good fun. It's really good fun. And obviously if you're playing it solo, you're having to do all those things. But yeah, that's how that works. And then we've got all the characters that you'll be using in the game. So the characters are on these discs. So there's Coleman. They're actually a bit thick. They're a bit too thick, as I say. This is just a prototype, but maybe we'll play with it and see what we think. The reason we use discs in the game and not meeples or just resin models is that you need to be able to flip them over, because you're going to be controlling 10 or 12 different characters. Actually, you're going to be controlling 9, sorry, but you could control all 12 if you wanted to play a much longer game. So these allow you to, when you're on the board, when you've done all the actions with that character, you can flip him over, and then it just makes it visually easy to see which characters you have and haven't done. It's kind of essential for this game when you're controlling so many characters. And there's obviously there's also a little meeple for the spaceship, which will sit on the spaceship trap. And the spaceship will arrive once you call it from the comms room later on in the game. There's 3 cute little bags. One of the tokens is removed at the start of the game and hidden in this little bag. Rather than just putting the token in the bottom of the box like most games kind of tell you to do, hide a token, you get to hide it in a little bag. It's just cuter. And then there's a bag for the aliens. All the alien tokens go in this green bag and get drawn out randomly and placed on the board, so you don't know which ones which DNA samples are which. And also the crew log tokens are put in this other little blue bag, and they're drawn randomly as well. So a couple of little bags to track the tokens. And then you have the player crew sheets, which are these sheets here. And these are double-sided, and in the corner it tells you which ones you use for how many players. So you'd use this sheet with 1 player or 3 players. And what you do is you have your character on there in the right department, so engineering character, then you'd have their weapon, and they can hold 3 items at once, and it tells you what dig site they visited during the game. So even if every time you play it, depending on where your character is, he's visited a different site, so everything's always random, and everything's always different. And on one of the sheets there's also I can get it out of the box. There's also a quick reference guide that basically tells you how to play the game. So even though the rule book is quite chunky, this basically tells you how to play the entire game. And that's it. Those are all the components for the game. We're really excited about it. We're going to be posting more about it soon. I hope you're interested, and give us a follow and a like. Thank you.